2FA, or two-factor authentication, is one form of multi-factor authentication. This basically means having multiple ways to access your account, other than a password. By having a password on an account, you already have one-factor authentication. By adding a second, you become having two-factor authentication. Greatly increases account security and should be used wherever possible. This second factor can be done many ways. However, most online services currently support text message verification or token verification. Text message verification is simply getting a text message from an online service with a code to verify your identity, and basically after you've already entered in your password. The token verification is slightly different. It comes through a third-party app, typically Google Authenticator, LastPass, Microsoft Authenticator. There are hundreds out there, and you get to use whatever one you feel most comfortable. What these apps do is link to your online account when you log into your password. Instead of getting texted a code, you will basically go into the app and get the 6-digit code that's auto-generated, and you enter in that rather than a text message code. This method is much safer than a text message because you cannot spoof it like you would a phone number. And the codes are changing every 30 seconds or less, making the window of time an attacker has to get the code and enter it much smaller. Some services offer even more two-factor, aka multi-factor, meaning you can also verify your identity with biometrics or additional factors such as facial recognition or what have you. With that said, we suggest using your own judgment on how many multi-factors you would like to use above 2. As business consultants, you kind of discuss that with your clients on just how sensitive the data is, dictates how many multi-authentication factors you might want. Most online services like G Suites and Microsoft Office and etc. offer two-factor or multi-factor, so keep that in mind. Additionally, administrators can choose for accounts to require two-factor or multi-factor. In the event that you find yourself consulting with a client on setting up admin rights for his or her business, suggest to them that they should mandate at least two-factor if they have that ability. As an additional side note, please be aware that when setting up two-factor in some instances, the online service will provide you with backup codes. Make sure they are stored in a safe place, whether they are stored digitally, physically, or both. These backup codes are the keys to the kingdom. In some instances, if you lose your multi-factor code and you lose your backup keys, you will basically render your account useless and not be able to access it ever again. So you need to be able to have the backup keys because they are very important. Password security is one of the largest risks to a small business and yet one of the simplest ways to secure it. The term password is not always seen as the best anymore. The real term we should use is called a passphrase. That alone should tell you just about how long your password is and basically the level of password strength. Using passwords that have association with yourself, like a maiden name, a birth date, a favorite food, or anything like that, is a recipe for disaster. The key to a strong password depends on two things: character space and length. Passwords with only letters take a fraction of the time to crack compared to passwords of the same length with numbers and symbols in them. In your systems and softwares can support the use of passphrases, essentially very long passwords that are easily memorized but would be impossible for a machine to guess. Go ahead and use them. They make your system more secure than a shorter password and can be easier to remember than a jumbled up random string of characters. When creating a passphrase, follow these 3 simple steps. Create an original passphrase, such as "pizza is my favorite food." Second, ensure the passphrase's usability. Basically, remove the spaces. And then thirdly, strengthen the passphrase. Add numbers and symbols in there, replacing the letters that are most commonly associated with them. Capitalize first letters of each word, replace non-caps letters with numbers when possible, and replace zeros with stars. When creating a password, the following guidelines should ensure that you keep yourself as secure as possible. 1. Complexity. It should be a minimum of 3 of the following 4. Uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. 2. Length, at least 12 characters long. 3. Change frequency. Passwords should be changed every 180 days at least, more if required by specific mandate. Now this is for small businesses that are a little bit more robust and have a little bit more control over their users and their employees' passwords. If you are a small mom and pop shop, just change your passwords every so often and make sure that you have a unique one per account. Number 4, reuse. No reuse of the last 6 passwords. So, it's a common rule of thumb to never reuse a password at all. But in the event that you need to, please do not reuse within the last 6. And 5, lockout. A 10-minute lockout after 8 unsuccessful login attempts should be mandated. Again, a small business that is a small mom and pop shop might not have something like this, but it is something that you should consider, making sure that at least your computers and your mobile devices all have some type of lockout, and so that way people who are constantly entering in the wrong password eventually have time limits, and so brute force attacks will not work on them. Biometrics, such as fingerprints and Face ID, provide a great opportunity for you to use a very complex passphrase, yet also keeping it simple to log in. Mobile devices now use a 6-digit passcode and biometrics by default, and most support passphrases as well. Using a passphrase with a mobile device and then using biometrics to log in between reboots allows for immense security with ease. Also, implementing a password manager to help manage all of your unique passwords can help keep a small business secure. There are tons of third-party apps out there. Some examples are LastPass, Keeper, Dashlane, etc. These password managers allow you to store the passwords in a secure online vault and securely log in both using your computer and mobile devices, and also have a feature in them to basically generate a password unique to every user login that you create. Now, I understand as business advisors you will probably get the question, well, won't the business password managers get hacked and someone will have access to all of my passwords anyway? That's more than likely a case, probably. However, I will pose you this question. Who is more likely to secure your passwords? The sticky note that you place on the computer with your password, or an actual software that is designed to keep it secure? So, keep that in mind when you recommend password managers to a client that might be reluctant to get one.